doing, everybody? This is Luxeley, going to talk about RNG, which we all know stands for Real Naked Girls. Yeah, it does. Now, I'd love to show you guys a picture, but I can't, so we all know if RNG truly stood for Real Naked Girls, there would be a ton of teenage boys signing up for it every week, every hour, every single minute. I would be signing up for it, but it doesn't stand for that. We all know that RNG does stand for ridiculously nonsensical, that's a word, garbage. That's what it stands for. No, RNG is something that's been in World of Warcraft since day one, since vanilla. And then chocolate and strawberry came, and actually RNG started to wean a little bit out of the game. It was still there, but Blizzard started to introduce various kinds of currencies that you could accumulate so you could get those shoulders or those bracers or that belt that eluded you in raiding for a few weeks. And at least it kind of gave you that feel that you got something for your time, you got something for your effort. And it really started to wean out of the game. It was still there, but you kind of had that mix, which I thought really worked. That mix that maybe you get a piece of gear, and if you don't, at least you get some currency that you could save and accumulate to buy what you need. And I like that, and I think a lot of the players like that. Now I'm going to give you guys a challenge. I want you to go out there, take a look at the forums, whether it's the official WoW forums, some blogs of players that talk about World of Warcraft, YouTube channels, videos from 4 or 5 years ago, or even just simply the MMO forums, wherever. Old forums, old thoughts, whatever, anywhere out there. Find somebody who says, we need more RNG in WoW. Because it's awesome. We want more of it. Because that's what Blizzard actually tells us. They tell us we want RNG in the game. They tell us we like RNG in the game. And no, we don't. Nobody's pounding the table, we need more RNG. Nobody did that back in MoP or back in Warlords of Draenor the Fun, where things started to change and RNG started to pop up again. And you have to question why. Nobody's saying we want more of this. Matter of fact, people are still bitching they want less of it. Why is it becoming more and more dominant, more and more prevalent in game? Well, I do have a theory about that. Now, the theory is not 100% factual. It's just logical, something that makes good business sense. And yeah, when you make a theory about something random, yeah, maybe you have a little too much time on your hands, or simply put, you're not 100% sure it's going to come into fruition. But I wanted to timestamp right here, right now, why I think RNG is becoming more and more dominant in the game, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. But first I want to share my story of the horrors of RNG. Now, back in Canada, I was part of a RBG guild, and we were knocking on the door of 2K. We had a pretty decent team, and we started to hit that proverbial ceiling like a lot of RBG teams do at that 18, 19, 2K level. And once we started to kind of maybe take no steps up and 2 steps back, people started pointing fingers at each other. Bickering ensued. There was a boyfriend and girlfriend in the raid group. They broke up. Neither of them showed up anymore. Our top DPS literally and unfortunately passed away. He was a young kid. He had a debilitating disease for a very long time, all his life, and it finally did him in, and that was very sad. And there was a lot of bickering and fighting amongst us, pointing fingers. I was going to say painting fingers. No, we were pointing fingers at each other, and the guild essentially didn't break up, but there was about 4 or 5 of us left in the core, and everybody decided we want to raid now. We don't want to do PvP anymore, and I was not on board for that. I despise raiding, honestly. It's not for me. I understand it's the lifeblood of the game. I understand it's something Blizzard does extraordinarily well. It's just not for me, and I cut ties and moved on. Now, you would think, here I am, a warlock, affliction warlock, high item level, probably full conquest gear at this point, and I had a 885 MMR, as high as over 1900, and I could not find a guild. And I was on a PvP server, and I could not find a guild. maybe they needed a mage, or they were looking for a healer, or they were looking for a tank, but whatever they were looking for, it wasn't an Affliction Warlock. And that kind of upset me a bit because I really wanted to progress. I kind of felt 2K was within my grasp. So I even tried to get involved with some 1500, 1600 MMR groups, figured maybe I'll take a couple of steps back before I could take a step up. They wouldn't even take me. So here I am, a solid 400 or 500 points above their playing level, and they would not take me. And the question is why? Well, the answer is very simple. I did not have Cunning of the Cruel, which is a trinket that you could get, a DPS trinket, perfectly for a caster, Shadow Priest, Affliction Warlock, a trinket that you could get out of Dragon Soul. And once I realized this, because I was a bit sheltered having been in a group, in a guild group for nearly a year, I said, okay, I gotta get this trinket. So I did LFR every single week, not on just one toon. I did it on my Shadow Priest, I did it on my Affliction Lock, and I did it on my Mage. Every single week. I killed the first 6 bosses, or the whole raid, whatever it took, but the first 6 bosses had a shot of, or I don't know, a few of the first 6 bosses had a shot of dropping the trinket. I didn't get it. Even the guild that I was in, which was a PvE guild, they were nice enough to carry my ass and help me get a shot at getting the trinket a couple of times. Never dropped. They were even nice enough to carry my ass in heroics a couple of times. Didn't get the trinket. It did drop in LFR 3 times. One time I rolled a 96, somebody else rolled a 98. I had to go buy a new mouse. Yes, I'm competitive, but when RNG gates me from progressing and competing, because, swear on the Bible, I did everything within my power to try and get that particular trinket. Not on one toon, but on 3 different toons, and I did not get it. I could not get it. And that persisted for about 6 to 8 months. And I think we all have that story. And I think that story is starting to bubble to the top again. And the question is, why is Blizzard suddenly embracing and having a love affair with RNG in a game where progression is paramount? And if people don't get the pieces of gear that they need, guess what? It's keeping them from progressing. Eventually, they're going to say, screw this. I don't want to play this roulette wheel. I'm going to go play another game. That's just the reality of the situation here. You know, RNG might have worked 4, 5, 6 years ago when there was less competition. But now, no, it does not work. It does not work. And I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think, why is Blizzard embracing this? Why are they saying, well, you want this, you just don't know you want it. You love RNG, you just don't know it. Yeah, it's nice to get a surprise and get a piece of gear, surprisingly, but I like some sort of insurance policy where if I don't get it, I can build up currency and go buy it eventually. At least I feel like I'm working towards something. And yes, there are mechanisms in the game, but the Forge is a goddamn joke, okay? I don't know if it's 860 or 870 gear that you basically deforge, but eventually they're going to give you 870 gear, and it's going to take a few weeks for you to accumulate the currency to buy a piece of gear, at which point maybe you get lucky and you get the gear and you don't need it anymore. It's just absolutely ridiculous. They should either give you more currency for what you disenchant, or they should let you disenchant lower item levels for lesser amounts of currency. And maybe, I don't know where the watermark would be, 820, 830, 840, 850, I don't know. But then Blizzard will turn around and say, well, people could go on the auction house and just buy a bunch of shit and then disenchant it. Sure, whatever. If that's what they want to do, if they have the goal for that, fine, whatever, why not? But hey, it's not a bad mechanism, but it's just a way that Blizzard's implementing it, where you have to disenchant the level of gear that you're going to end up getting. It should be something higher, or you should get more currency for it. Let me know your thoughts on that ridiculous thing. But here's where I think, or why I think RNG is becoming more and more dominant in the game and is propping up. Like, there's been a nuclear attack, and all the RNG, or the frustration with RNG, was particularly or mostly weaned out of the game by the time MOP came around. It was still there, but it wasn't enough for people to bitch about it. And now all of a sudden it's popping up again, like after a nuclear war and the cockroaches or all that survived. That's RNG right now. Why is that? Well, if you look at other games, MOBAs, first-person shooters, even other MMOs, there's a lot of RNG in the game when it comes to lockboxes. But those lockboxes usually offer cosmetic things. They don't offer things that are increments of power. So when players get it, they're really excited that they got a skin on this particular gun, or they got a skin in this particular MOBA. But in World of Warcraft, yeah, you're excited when you get something of that cosmetic nature, whether it's a pet, a mount, or a toy. But the fact of the matter is, why? Why does this RNG exist for progression purposes? You know, I remember doing rated battlegrounds in Warlords of Draenor the Fun, where if you got 3 wins, you would get a piece of gear. Do you know for 3 weeks in a row I got the same fucking shoulders, which I didn't need the first week? It's ridiculous. I mean, even if they are insistent on having RNG in the game, there should be some better implementation of it. So like if you have a legendary slot, you have the choice of saying, okay, no shoulders, none of this, none of this. I just want RNG on a bracer. I just want RNG on boots, because that's the particular piece that I need. And I think that could easily be managed, where you set it up. I mean, if you could set up your specialization, let's say you're a monk, and if you want the tank or the healer or the DPS specialization when you loot gear, you could set it up. Well, why can't you set it up with individual pieces of gear? I need bracers, that's all I want RNG. This way it gives you a better chance of getting the bracers. Maybe you could even do some sort of stupid quest line to have this ability, but it just doesn't make sense. But then I kind of realized, yeah, it does. And here's my theory. If you look at those other games, first-person shooters, MOBAs, where they have these lockboxes, especially in Overwatch, lockboxes, and then people have to buy keys, or they have to buy lockboxes in general with real money, etc., etc. And if you think of kids, they're like, oh, I want a lockbox, I gotta ask mommy and daddy. And since half the households are divorced and mommy's competing with daddy, if daddy's not going to buy it, then mommy's certainly going to buy it because daddy didn't buy it. So this kind of works out pretty well for Blizzard. But this is all very, very evident in other games, first-person shooters, MOBAs, what have you, other genres. But it doesn't work in an MMO, which is progression-based, which is build your power-based. And I think Blizzard's moving in this direction. That is my theory. I think they're moving in this direction. I think they see it as being successful in other games like Overwatch or Call of Duty or any other MMO, and they're kind of thinking, you know, we want to have people buy keys for lockboxes, or we want people to buy lockboxes, or we want people to use their currency in order to have an opportunity to increase the chances of getting what they need in a lockbox. I see it happening. I see it happening. And I think if WoW ever does go free to play, I think that's when it's going to be implemented. Because Blizzard is kind of like a big ship. I often compare it to the Titanic, which means, yes, inevitably they'll hit an iceberg and destroy the game, but they're not quite there yet. And when a big ship makes a move or makes a change, it's not a quick, sudden move. It's not evasive, quick, sudden movement. It's a series of baby steps to get the player base used to things. And I think that they are doing that with RNG right now. And I think eventually when it goes free to play, I think you're going to see some sort of implementation of either A, grinding currency to buy lockboxes, or grinding currency to buy keys to open lockboxes. And Blizzard's going to charge money for it, and that's how they're going to make money in the game once they go free to play. Because if you think about it, if the game does go free to play, the game would reasonably grow twofold, maybe even threefold. Not everybody active, but free, okay, no sub fee, or maybe buy to play. They might go in that direction, and I think that that's what they're doing. I really do. Let me know your thoughts on this. Like I said, this is just theory crafting. I really do think Blizzard loves money, And I think that this is a great way to generate money, and it's an exceptional way to generate money if they go to free-to-play. Would this be a swap that you would be willing to make? Lock boxes for money, real money to open, but free to play. Or should I say no sub fee? It'll probably be a buy to play model no matter what you do. This is Luxley saying, whatever it is by you, morning, afternoon, or night, make it random, make it a number, and make it great. Luxley out.